Every once in a while, I see a man in that chair who could just as easily be on this side of the table.
That muscle's just for show. Helps me lift stuff.
Man of principle.
Relinquish it now.
You know the difference between right and wrong. And you have a moral compass. I knew before you told me that you got an American flag in your home. You probably got more than one. You're a patriot.
Don't tell me my business. I do things direct, and I have a system.
Won't last forever.
Minimum freedom.
I'm not going to tell you anything you want to hear. And prison will give me plenty of time to look at guys I don't like.
And welcome, everyone, to Bullets,
Bourbon, and Karate.
And this week's episode is
Brawl in Cell Block 99.
Oh, God.
It's been a while since you've heard from us. You guys have heard from us,
Yes.
of course. But last time, we got to talk about
The
three ninjas.
Sweet, sweet nostalgia of that wonderful, colorful. They were worried. Remember they were worried about that too hard of a PG or maybe PG-13 rating because of the violence.
We got a little violent on the YouTube one, too.
That's right. We got the violent version, which was mainly just they fought more and, of course, the murder by the grandpa.
Right.
But quite tame. Quite tame for a movie that was certainly geared towards children. And now it's your turn, and
It is my turn, and if you look on the opposite side of the spectrum of Three Ninjas, or what Rocky could have been, maybe Bradley is Rocky after the rough times that.
He and Emily are
yes,
I love that idea.
But going into my kind of. It was a favorite movie, I guess, that we were talking about, Adam and I, and we've always talked about this. And there's, I think for both of us, different genres, different times in our life, that there's going to be favorite movies that stick out more. And Three Ninjas was, of course, when Adam was in his childhood, infancy, and even into his early teens. And I was thinking about that in mind, and I could have done, No Retreat, No Surrender, like stuff that I remember, or Kickboxer, RoboCop, just stuff that I remember seeing as a young kid, being very visceral and really having an impact on what I was watching, and then action movies in general and just wanting more. But I wanted to kind of jump ahead to now and do Tenet. No, I'm just kidding. Not Tenet, but I wanted to do one that has really stuck with me, and it is definitely up there with Tenet. Not to bring that back again, but it's up there with me in my top 5 movies in the past, I would say 5 years. It's
5 years.
5, 10, maybe even 10 years.
I'd be interested to know the best 5 movies you've seen in the past 10 years.
I'm just talking shit out loud.
No, I agree. I haven't heard you talk, other than Tenet.
Right.
This is the movie I've heard you talk most about.
Yeah.
I won't count Urban Cowboy because that's on a different thing.
Right.
And action movie-wise, it's always been
Brawl in Cell Block 99.
You turned me on to this movie.
Yeah, and I think that your kind of first take on it, I remember us texting while you were watching it, and you were just like, this is not what I was expecting. And I think we had the same emotions going through it, too. Yeah. And talking about it earlier, seeing Zahler with what he did in Bone Tomahawk is
He's
what...
the director.
Yeah, and we'll talk about him. Writer, director, just this all-around just crazy guy, man. Yeah. And but he did Bone Tomahawk. If you haven't seen that, watch that. He did Dragged Across Concrete with Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn. Watch that if you haven't as well. And I remember watching Bone Tomahawk and just loving the Western aspect of it, kind of the exploitationness of it and the grittiness of it. And it was so good. Kurt Russell's amazing in it. The whole cast is. And not even knowing who this director was, but then years later, 2017 rolls around, and I see on demand Brawl in Cell Block 99 with this bald-headed Vince Vaughn, and I see that Zahler directed it, and I'm like, I gotta watch this.
Yeah.
And it was the most fun that I've had, not knowing what a movie is at all, just being stagnant on what a movie is and just going into it blind. I think it may be the most fun I've had in a movie like that.
And we're going to talk more about that. And we are Bullets, Bourbon, and Karate. And we do our best to bring you as consistently as possible. But as we say, we started this podcast, of course, like most podcasts started during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And therefore, our time was limitless.
It is.
And now things are slowly coming back, and things are happening. So therefore, our time is sort of broken apart. And we're learning what that means for us and what that means for our schedule. So appreciate your patience, and thanks for listening. And you can find us on social media, of course, and you can find us, but we like you, if you want to talk to us, use our email at bbkaratepodcast@gmail.com. That's also our Instagram and Twitter. And on Facebook, what are we, Marcus?
Bullets, Bourbon, and Karate, the same title that we've yelled out many times.
Many times. Yeah. And of course, you can use, what we really want, or just a sweet, sweet 5-star, or just a comment being like, hey, these guys are fun.
Yeah.
Or
where's the podcast at, guys? You guys haven't been doing anything.
I was going to listen next Wednesday, but they never gave it to us, which is a fair critique. I wanted to do something before we. You know what? Let's do the drink first.
Okay.
So
okay.
Every week we pair a drink with the movie, and for me, this movie is visceral. This movie is certainly the first time I watched it. It was just jarring, and.
Right.
You and I feel the same way about IPAs.
Yes, exactly. I think we
feel that they're pretty jarring, and but you certainly like that movie more than an IPA. So we got something. We just got a Chicago Pale Ale. Now, not a fan of pale ales in general, are you, Marcus?
No, I'm not. No.
I'm probably a bit more tolerant of them than you, but this is a local Chicago brewery. We got the Fist City, which I think goes about as well with this movie as anything can. And in fact, the flavor, you get a little concrete floor.
I don't know if I've had Fist City before, actually.
You've had Revolution?
I've had Revolution, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, they're big...
Anti-hero.
Claim to fame is the anti-hero.
Yeah.
But they're brewed right down the street here in Chicago, Illinois. Let's see if I can find their exact address. Using pure Lake Michigan water, my ass. Nope, just they don't have it, but they are in Chicago, and they're a great brewery overall. And so we're going to try the Fist City Chicago Pale Ale.
A little nervous, just like flying. I don't know what's going to happen here. It's a tame hop. It's a tame hop. Yeah.
A tame hoppiness, and that's the thing with IPAs is the hoppiness. And this is almost a Pilsner.
Yeah.
Like it's like a Pilsner on steroids a little bit.
It has that bite like right when it hits, but then the back goes away. It goes away. It doesn't linger in there like a usual IPA does, and that's good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Unlike this movie, which stuck with me for a very long time after I watched it. Before we get into that movie, I wanted to ask you, Marcus.
Yeah.
And I think this is something we should do because you and I are connoisseurs and eaters of action films. You watched any action films lately? Rewatch? Or you said you were rewatching John Wick with your wife, right?
We rewatched John Wick with my parents, actually. 1 through 3. And yeah, I remember like messaging you while I was down in Texas. I was visiting the family and visiting my parents, and I remember watching all 3 of them, and we watched 1 through 3 pretty much night 1, and so on. Third night we watched 3, and I remember thinking like, man, I think my order is actually 2, 3, and 1. And I mean, that's still ranking John Wick 1 very high.
Yeah.
But it's just like how much fun 2 and 3 are, and I think I saw both in the theaters. I think we saw 2 and 3 together. You saw 1. We didn't see it together. But man, it's just like the layout of 2 is after Rome, it's all action, and it's just nonstop. And then 3, you have the levels at the end of getting to
the boss fight.
D. What?
I'm not gonna know his name.
Yeah, the bald guy.
Dacascos.
Dacascos, because I always say it the wrong. I always pronounce it wrong. Yeah, and Dacascos, and which is a great fight in itself, but it's just like, I love 2, 3, and 1, and I just loved watching those over again, and those were so much fun.
I love the Wick movies. You'll never hear me complain. Another big thing happened this week, the Matrix.
Yeah.
Dropped
big
a new
drop.
trailer.
Big drop.
That's huge.
It is.
They've been doing that so much recently. I remember trailer drops being such a big thing.
Yeah.
I think specifically about The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises trailers and how there's months of like build-up. I don't remember there ever being an announcement about coming up in the next bite. Like, I feel like if it was The Dark Knight, it'd be like in January. It'd be like March 1st trailer drop.
Yeah.
And this was just like, I saw it
on YouTube.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
The week before was like, hey,
Yeah.
this is happening. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And this feels like it's huge.
It is, and it's very interesting. I mean, you think about the times when 4 years prior to now, when we heard like Michael B. Jordan was going to be in it and stuff like this.
Yeah.
Remember that, when there was kind of like talks about that and him being Neo and like another kind of idea of the Matrix. Yeah. Now, what I don't understand, is this a continuation or is this a reboot?
It's interesting to see, and you don't really know.
Right. I don't know if this is. I'm guessing this is the same thing.
I'm guessing it's a continuation based on the name.
Yeah.
Matrix
Resurrection. Yeah.
So, I don't know. There's all sorts of speculation. People are dissecting, as you can imagine, the trailer, and they're seeing someone is watching.
Yeah. The third movie, or no, part one. Somebody's watching part one.
So it could be. You know, if it is the Matrix, they probably have access to all memories and stuff like that. They could just be watching a memory, but who knows? I'd love the idea if they're watching.
Yeah, and the thing is that it could actually just be a continuation. It could be anything it wants to be, because at the end they just say they're going to restart the program. Mm-hmm. So it could be anything, and that's why Neo and Trinity don't know each other in the trailer, and it's just
be back at square one.
Right,
like somehow he got back in.
Yeah,
my love of the Matrix is the first one probably, but I love the second one.
I do too.
The second one, it's all action, like you're talking about.
I am a fan of part 2, and I always hear people knock it and everything too. And even 3 I like, but part 2 I love the twins, the highway chase, and everything is so fun.
They built. Someone told, what was it? 3-mile stretch of highway.
Yeah, they built a highway for that.
Insane.
Like, that's
Give
crazy.
Because they want practical shit.
Yeah.
Now, they could have probably done it for $10 million less, but I think it was great. And it's like Lord of the Rings, Two Towers.
Yeah.
Or not Twin Towers.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
Always remember.
It's the Two Towers.
Yeah.
And how that one's just all action. Once it gets to the Battle of Helm's Deep.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I don't think a sequel, if you know it's a trilogy, who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Give me a movie where it's all I want to see.
Exactly, yeah.
So that was big news, and then I got to see Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
And I got to say, I was telling you, I think it's the best action and fighting since Winter Soldier, which I love the combat in that. And I think it's an above-average Marvel movie. Like, it's above, like, maybe below Winter Soldier and Black Panther, but above, like, Ant-Man and some of the other ones. Certainly above Ant-Man and the Wasp. Just wasn't a fan of that one, sorry. But I think it's top 5. I think it's wonderful.
Is there a lot of, like, Marvel,
no.
like, in this, or is it a lot of...
It is post-Endgame, so they do reference the snap and stuff,
Okay.
and you do get to see Wong quite a bit. He's part of the story.
Oh, he's like the guy,
assistant.
the helper
Yeah.
to... Yeah,
It's Doctor Strange. And I saw a weird thing, like, he's almost been in more... Other than, like, the main crew, he's been in more Marvel movies than most.
I think so. That's a good gig to have, man.
Yeah,
maybe 3 days of shooting, and then you're just like...
And now you're like this legend in
Right.
pop culture.
Yeah.
Everyone fucking loves you. It's great.
Right.
So I highly recommend it. The story's a lot more complex than maybe it could have been. I think they took some weird turns and like... But the action, mwah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I need to see it. Not again. I mean, you know this. I'm not a big superhero guy, but I won't go see it unless we're going to see it together, or unless I'm going with somebody, probably. But now that you've seen it, I'll probably not watch it.
The action is worth it. I think you'll dig the action. The final fight is pretty great, and that's what's been going on. If you saw anything and you think we should talk about it, hit us up. bbkaratepodcast@gmail.com. What action movie have you seen recently? Even if you went back in the canon, maybe watch some old ones.
Yeah. I just watched Thrashing when I...
You did?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah.